I mean, I really think, or I really view CalAIM as a way to welcome everybody to the same space. The CBOs, social service partners, behavioral health, justice, medical providers, really to come in and work from an individual centered trauma informed care lens. Um, the promise of CalAIM is that it's coordinated services for an individual, but the process to get there is squishy and messy and challenging, and it requires a lot of patience and humility and collaboration. So, my advice to anyone who's embarking on this journey is to embrace the process, and that even if there are stumbles or setbacks, you are almost certainly going to end up at a better place to provide care to the individuals that you served than where you are today.
Number one, don't be afraid. You can do this. Medicaid billing, yeah, it's complicated, but you do lots of complicated things. And this can be a sustainable source of revenue in the long run and can help support programs that have been patched together through grants in the long run. So don't be afraid. But number two, get money. Find funders who want to fund your infrastructure and capacity building. And it can't just be whatever funding is available through Medicaid transformation, because there won't be enough and it won't come fast enough. So reach out to your current funders, to health funders in your community who can step up and give infrastructure funding to support the build out of these programs and make them understand how urgent this is. Like I said, if we can't do this as nonprofits, then it'll be for-profit companies who are based across the country who are not supporting local economies and agriculture. And it is very important for local businesses and nonprofits to get the funding they need to compete on that stage. So don't be afraid, but find money.
The biggest piece of advice is to think of bringing in a neutral party, a neutral consultant, somebody who's not tied to contracting as you start to think about services. To have a neutral party, there's going to be a lot of ups and downs to navigate. The process is going to take time. We're talking about major system overhaul and innovation and new processes. You have managed care plans whose bread and butter and specialty is medical care. You have social service providers who really understands social determinants of health and everything from housing to the justice involved communities. There are going to be mishaps and disagreements. Many of them I would think about how to prepare for how those will be addressed. When there are major kind of policy components that come down from the state that don't make operational sense, what will be the approach of coming together to address those? And what would be the approach when you're bringing different organizations, hospitals, FQHCs, behavioral health organizations, clinics together, when your approach is completely different and you feel that there's a fundamental issue in how it's being implemented, and consider how you're going to approach that and how are you going to come together knowing that you will still all need each other in the long run to make sure that it's not adversarial. And how can you approach that as a united front and then move forward to provide advice to the state? There will be issues around reimbursement for outreach, most likely, how you're going to standardize processes for workflow, manuals, communication with providers, what type of trainings are you offering? What type of education will be offered to the individuals that will be receiving the service? How will you be tracking the outcomes? And how do those systems communicate to one another? And then funding is going to be another big one. So just consider kind of those big buckets. And when you know you're going to have friction points, how are you going to address that? I would also think of bringing in key leaders. Who are those key leaders that really can think and are willing to come and have new renewed discussions around the new application of care, and really bringing in kind of 4 or 5, maybe 10 key leaders. You have monthly meetings, set up collaboratives, talk about how you're going to communicate, and then how you're going to address policies and things that are specifically coming from the state that need to be addressed. But how are you going to work through those partnership issues and really think about bringing together for that master vision, right? Always coming back to, we're here to serve our residents, our clients, our patients. We're bringing in a new care component. How are we going to do that so that it really is bettering the service and our health outcomes of our community?